Well, hello there, and welcome to the bedroom of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers for January 20th, the day of the freewheeler. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of the freewheeler. Well, we have us an image of, what could it be? Boom, it's a wagon wheel and all the kings from the card deck. That's right. Or maybe it's a roulette wheel. I can't quite tell. That'd make more sense with the gambling there. But that having been said, not altogether all too important, the visual representational image there. I just like folks to have an idea what I'm looking at here. But what is important around these here parts is it's January 20th, and hence, it's got to be somebody's birthday. Hopefully that's why you're stopping by. So I can wish you a happy birthday. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may happen to be, I just want to say I hope you had a happy birthday, all right? But for everybody else joining us randomly or more ideally to celebrate the January 20th birthday, I want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. But something I like to do around these here parts before we get off into the redirect, something I like to do to push the boat out, if you like, and that's roll some dice. This is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake, but I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. That's right, and so I rolled us here a 3 and a 6, 4 and 9. Now, what is synchronicity? You're probably wondering. Well, my friends, as I hear it told, the universe will put things down in our path to help us manifest our goals or our aspirations. But you know what? A lot of the times we're going through this life very narrow or singular of focus. We kind of got the blinders on to the things going on around us. Yeah, we might see them, but we're not lending them much credence. So, this is kind of an exercise to get those blinders off so we can start to identify the things that the universe or the powers that be are laying out for us to help us along the way. And so we need a sign to kind of go by to start recognizing such things. So what better than a mutually agreed upon sign? Something we can't help but notice. That's right, your daily numbers. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled for you. The intention is there. But it is ideal you take your own set of dice if you're going to get out into the world and try to drum up some synchronicity or some coincidences, if you like. So raid that old Yahtzee set, dust some of the dust off of there, get a couple dice out, and pick a spot that, I don't know, maybe is dear to your heart, or maybe someplace you haven't really explored before because you just haven't got out of the house to do as much. It's been on the to-do list, but hey, you just haven't got around to it. So get on out there, town square, say, and get your dice going, all right? Get a time limit, get a directional value you ascribe to number sets, and set off. But like I said, get those blinders off, all right? You never know, the day might start to take on a little bit of a theme. You might start to see things pop up, just coincidentally, if you like, synchronously, if you like. Who's to say? Let's go with the visual representational image. Maybe you start to see a bunch of cards just popping up into your day. I don't know, maybe there's some folks in the park who are dealing them out, playing a little poker, or maybe, I don't know, whatever particular games are played with cards there. Or maybe you start seeing wagon wheels everywhere. I don't know. I know me putting the bug in your ear about it is probably going to keep you on the lookout for them, but it could be anything. That's why you got to soak things up like a sponge. But let's say you get off on this first leg of your journey and you're not really seeing anything. Maybe it's just the everyday goings on of the city there around you, or it's a particularly lazy Sunday, perhaps. You know what? Maybe just stop, compose yourself, and look around here. Maybe you just so happen to notice that you're on old 9th Avenue there. You know what? Something as, I don't know, seemingly innocuous as that could be a sign that you're on the right path. So take that as much. A sign you're on the right path. Roll yourself another directional value and time limit with which to go in that direction and head on out. Maybe at the end of that time limit, you just so happen to notice you're in front of a building with what's this? A 36 in the address. Again, I would take that as a sign that you're on the right path. Maybe you go up to that building to go on inside, see what you see, but hey, maybe it's locked. Oh, hey, the universe isn't looking out for me here. This thing's locked. You know what I'm saying? And maybe about the time you turn around to leave, hey, you know what? Somebody else walks up to that building also. Can I help you? This is my apartment building. Oh, just be clear, transparent about what's going on. Oh, I'm just here kind of trying to drum up some synchronicity. And they go, what are you talking about? Show them your dice, show them this video, and maybe they'll go, that's just crazy. And you're just like, I know it's crazy. And they go, the synchronicity thing's something I never done myself. It's just a first. And they go, no, not the synchronicity, though that is a little weird. but it's my birthday too. Oh, it could be something as synchronous as that. Stranger things have happened. And you know what? Maybe that person goes in, puts their groceries away, and they have you wait for a moment because they want to join you. All right? It's their birthday too. All right? They want to see, taste, touch, feel a little bit of that same magic. Get out there and start seeing signs, if you like, to help them manifest the things and the goals and aspirations in their life. All right? And so maybe that was the whole point here. The universe putting you on track to meet a new friend. All right. And I like to use those examples a lot because I don't know, I think they sound the most magical. But I think you get the point out of all that. So get on out there, drum up some synchronicity or coincidences if you like, and I think you'll understand why I brought it up. All right, let's dive into the birthday read, shall we? Your month is January, your day is the 20th. Your sign is 29 degrees Capricorn through to 1 degree Aquarius of the Capricorn-Aquarius cusp period specifically. And your quality and elements is Cardinal Earth. All right, January 20th, the day of the freewheeler. Those born on January 20 are intensely alive individuals who are very comfortable following their impulses wherever they may lead. The capacity to make snap decisions and act on them is highly characteristic of people born on this day. Improvisatory rather than painstaking, they may take life as it comes, no matter how chaotic or upsetting it is. They feel that they can handle it. Their own internal state is often chaotic as well, although they miraculously impart an orderliness to their work, most often due to technical ease in their particular medium. Humor figures predominantly in the makeup of these vibrant people, and the most dire circumstances are often lightened by their ready wit. But such a fine sense of irony also serves to protect a profound inner sensitivity. And though they are fond of jokes and will even play the fool themselves if it suits them, they are very proud individuals who take themselves very seriously indeed. In January 20, people have a deeply human quality which endears them to their family and their friends. And despite the fact that they can display a nasty temper and are sharply outspoken in their views, they are quickly forgiven by others, for there is no malice in their outbursts. And because of their love of fun, they may be taken for superficial, except by those who really know them. And actually, January 20 people often lead a highly private life, even secret life, and share their hopes and dreams with but few intimates. And most January 20 people are by nature big-hearted and therefore share without a second thought. However, later they may feel a bit put upon if they find the other party unworthy of their generosity. And although not always in the best health, January 20 people are highly resilient physically, emotionally, and mentally, and capable of surviving many catastrophes in their lives, and somehow they always pull through, buoyed by an incurable optimism. And although they are generally on the side of the underdog and have strong protective sympathies, January 20 people can be themselves very dictatorial, the role for which they are hardly suited. They are not particularly adept at forcing others, including their children, it says in parentheticals, to obey the rules that they set down, and perhaps because of their own freewheeling style, implies a kind of disregard for such restriction. Others don't take their authoritarianism seriously as a result. Emotional, expressive, and caring, these larger-than-life people may have glaring faults and may make mistakes of judgment, but do so with singular absence of malice. Their insistence on a positive attitude toward life and their courage and stick-to-itiveness are an example to others. Well, all right. How about that for a birthday breakdown? I got a little bit mumble mouth there at the beginning, but hope it seemed like I salvaged it quite a bit there. Sometimes happens with these one shot, one take kinds of things. That having been said, I'd like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we've read, kind of dive into the things I found interesting, maybe make some connections with days previous, and just other things that may be correlated in the book there. That said, I'm a little bit scattered here today. There's so much going on, so I'm going to be trading back and forth between the notes and the book itself. So let's dive into it, shall we? Let's see here, January 20, the day of the freewheeler. You're intensely alive individuals, the book said, and you may be very comfortable in following your impulses wherever they may lead. To the extent that making snap decisions may be highly characteristic of your nature. Not something like that didn't immediately come to my mind upon hearing all this, especially if you're improvisatory there. A word I couldn't get my mouth wrapped around. Let's see here. So again, it didn't really immediately come to my mind thinking on an impulsive nature, that you'd make snap decisions. But it does make a lot of sense in those regards when you think about it. And it may even extend to a natural capacity to improvise. Able to rally to anything in life, anything life may throw at you. Again, not something I describe to being impulsive per se, but it makes a lot of sense. All right. That said, the reading claims you may have a chaotic inner state. All right. One that many may not pick up on at face value, considering you have a very rather ordinary facade. Or you have a nice naturalistic approach to your professional life. So people can't really see what's going on inside the covers, if you like, if you were to go by that book by its cover kind of metaphor. That said, humor is also said to feature predominantly in your life, and you can't beat that, right? To the extent that you're said to be vibrant individuals who can lighten the most dire of circumstances with your wit. But it may serve as a shield for what the reading claims is a profound inner sensitivity, right? Or perhaps a need for security. You know, a lot of times they say people use, being clever as a mask or a shield. So that might be kind of what that is. So to say that there is a deeply human element that endears you to others, it already sounds like quite the apt claim in those regards. But interestingly, and again, not at all expected that you may have a nasty temper. That's interesting. But if you were quickly forgiven, since there's no malice of intent, I'm interested to know what may set you off in that regard. Perhaps just that profound inner sensitivity that they mentioned. But the reading goes on to claim that others may perceive you to be superficial due to your love of fun, which is a rather odd takeaway, I would say. But you know what? That's people, right? Being judgmental. So it must be an inordinate, overly displayed kind of fun to that end. Maybe they're a little jealous too, because they can't get out of that. They can't get out of their comfort zone and allow themselves to enjoy it as much. But you're said to be highly private to that end, but big-hearted and apt to give generously, and capable of surviving catastrophe, perhaps most importantly. Considering how physically and mentally strong as you are to that end. But it may not be of the best health, they said, and somehow, you may not be the best health somehow. But the reading doesn't stop there. You're also said to be supported by an incurable optimism, as if it were a disease, apparently. That's how far it extends. And you can have strong sympathies, but can also act dictatorial. But not particularly adept at being as much, they said, or forcing others to follow your rules. The reading goes on to list just even more things, somehow. I don't know how they shoehorned it all in there. But suffice to say, saying that you're larger than life, I would say seems particularly apt considering all those particular facets they just kept listing down there. Almost as if it was a laundry list there. So I'd say it's rather apt in that regard there. If you might be a little larger than life compared to other folks. Where the freewheeler comes in, not quite sure. They should have said day of larger than life, but that one might have been taken already, who's to say. So that being said, not the most well-rounded birthday breakdown, that I've come across, to be sure. But that's a bit of a through line for the Capricorn period. And I know we're segueing out of that. I think it's the last day of the Capricorn period. But they've been very hyper-focused and laser of focus, if you like, on these particular breakdowns. Basically, as soon as Capricorn happened. And that's not a necessarily characteristic thing for the book to do. But you know what? It's also said in the book that Capricorn folks are hard to pin down and ascribe particular generalities to. And I would say this makes an excellent case to that end. So that having been said, even though it was rather narrow focus, I think they expanded quite a bit within that narrow scope to elaborate on a lot of interesting things. I mean, if the laundry list of qualities that they put out there for you is any indication of that, you know what? It still provides a lot of value. But that having been said, birthday breakdown having been gone over, let's move on to your numbers and your planets. All right. Those ruled by the 20th, or those born rather on the 20th of the month, are ruled by the number 2, as 2 plus 0 equals 2, and by the moon. And those ruled by the number 2 tend to be gentle, imaginative, and easily hurt by criticism or inattention of others. They may also take offense easily and have a low threshold of irritation. And those born under the moon influences are likely to be impressionable and have their thoughts ruled by their feelings. As they are born on the Capricorn Aquarius cusp, there's a theme of mystery and imagination. In January, 20 people make exciting friends who love to have fun. And the influence of Saturn, which is Capricorn's leader, and Uranus, which is Aquarius's ruler, lends a labile emotionality, but also a serious, complex set of feelings as well. All right, there's your numbers and your planets. This is a very personalized entry today. That's not always the case, so I like to mention it when it pops up. Sometimes it's a copy-paste job, and they may just kind of change the date in there. But they didn't do that for you here. That having been said, what did I have to say about the numbers and planets? So the number 2 in the moon for gentle, imaginative nature, which may be hurt by criticism and inattention from others, in addition to more shoehorned qualities, all right? What isn't mentioned, however, is the moon's tendency to lend qualities for that individual to make a good coworker or a partner versus a leader. And they also have a reflective kind of nature. Whether it's upon themselves or the world in general, not quite sure. They never really say. But I like to think the moon reflects light, so maybe that's the idea they got that from in the astrology area. I don't know. I'm not an astrologer. Don't know too much about it outside of what's been in the book. But information they didn't convey here, and I thought I'd bring to you your attention. But that said, it's kind of quite anomalous. They don't include it in here as often as it's mentioned other places. So whether it applies or not, who's to say? But I argue perhaps it's Saturn and Uranus's influence that curbs as much if it doesn't apply to you. But they say it lends a labile kind of complex emotion for you, or unstable emotionality, if you're to define that out. I always have to look it up because I forget what labile means. There's also a complex set of emotions and feelings that may explain why it wasn't included, is what I'm trying to say here. So not necessarily because it doesn't apply, or maybe, in fact, it's just that they're so tired of adding in so many of these elements, or they don't want to confuse you further by adding too much to it. I could see that being a justifiable reason not to include it, because you already got so much to think about already, right? So they don't want to feel like they're just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks to try and convince you. Perhaps. But that having been said, that's what I'd say about your numbers and your planets. So let's move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. But hey, we don't have to take it home with us and start dealing out the cards to predict our future or inspire our every whim or flight of fancy. But a lot of times we can make some connections with the breakdown or find some interesting things to think about, just based on what the tarot card has to say, because it's kind of ascribed to the number of the day. It's not like they just pick one out for you. So let's dive into it, see what it has to say, and then we can just leave it in the book and move on. So let's dive into it here. The 20th card of the major arcana shows the Judgment or awakening. in which people are urged to leave material considerations behind and seek a higher spirituality. The card depicts an angel blowing a trumpet and signifies that a new day, a day of accountability, is dawning. It is a card which suggests we move beyond our ego and allows us to glimpse the infinite. The dangers that the trumpet call for some heralds only exaltation and intoxication, and a loss of balance and indulgence in revels involving the basest instincts. All right. This one was a total copy-paste job here. They didn't personalize it for you, which is kind of part and parcel for the tarot. Now, sometimes if they personalize the numbers and planets, they don't do anything with the tarot. And then vice versa on occasion. Having said that, this is like a once-a-month card. Sometimes the other ones, they get drawn up a couple times. So you get the Judgment or the Awakening. That's just for people born on the 20th. But let's dive in, see what it says, see if we can make some connections or not. The Judgment or Awakening, all right, for an urging to leave material considerations behind for higher spirituality. The angel who blows a horn to signify a new day is dawning, for a suggestion to move beyond the ego, and warnings against intoxication of the ego, I'm assuming, as well as a loss of balance and indulging in base instincts, for a little bit of a reiteration there for you for context. Now, I don't see much of a correlation here for you, as it turns out. Even if you lean in on the ego and get dictatorial there, the birthday breakdown, it claimed that doesn't really work out for you. At least not anyway, it doesn't work out for you. And also didn't take you to be unaccountable. I also didn't take you to be unaccountable or necessarily overly grounded, like you're not reaching for that higher spirituality. But, especially considering you're impulsive, you're bound to go with what's going on. But I suppose there's maybe an argument to be had that does keep one person grounded. You're too focused on what's going on. I don't know who's to say. It could be interpreted either way. It's kind of up for you to decide there. But you've got a seat of your pants kind of nature, so yeah, maybe you are grounded. I don't know. That said, I could see imbalance affecting you in a variety of ways. So if nothing, I would say that's something to take from this. Find your balance and then glimpse the infinite. Grasp for the stars. A lot of people, especially the more grounded individuals on the day, they have a hard time getting out of themselves, grasping for the infinite or the spirituality. But then there's these other folks, like Neptune-ruled days, who've always got their head in the clouds, according to the book. And so they need that grounding influence to bring them back to reality. Here, who's to say? You have to do some of that work. The tarot says that you're too grounded, but I don't know. That's up to you. I can't make heads or tails of it one way or the other. But like I said, I would say try to grasp for the infinite regardless, even if you're doing as much. Just trying to get after the magic here as a general rule. Because I don't know, we all live this life on the ground and in the material pretty well. So why not go for the extra curricular there, if you like. Right. So, any event, that's been your tarot. Again, a little disjointed, but hey, that's how it goes. So let's move on with your health. All right, your health. As mentioned, though January 20 people are not always in the best of health, their enthusiasm for life usually carries them through. However, they must be aware of allowing small complaints to develop into chronic ones, or disregarding warning signs that indicate the emergence of an acute illness. Stress-related practices such as heavy drinking and smoking should be curtailed or at least reduced. Maintaining a healthy diet free of as many additives as possible, and based or stable grains and vegetables can aid a sense of calm and balance. Homeopathy, chiropractic, yoga, and spiritual or religious disciplines are also recommended here. So maybe they do think you're too grounded. That was the takeaway there. So maybe the tarot applies more than I thought. All right, hey, that happens sometimes. All right, I'm too close to the writing, I guess. All right, what do I have to say about your health here? You're not always in the best health, as they mentioned. But enthusiasm pulls you through, which is huge, all right? There's not a lot of optimistic folks that come through the book. There are some, and I don't know, but never outright just totally outlined directly. That having been said, just beware of the small things creeping up into chronic ailments. I'm sure it happens easier than folks really realize. And most Capricorns are all too consumed with their endeavors or their career to care for themselves. It's a very thorough through line there. So don't lean into that through line, all right? And they said that you're not healthy most of the time. That's another thing that Capricorns aren't doing. They don't focus on their health. They let it go. They're just too committed to their own cause. So stress-related issues also come up because that's another Capricorn thing. That's the result of working too much or being too dedicated to that cause. Here, I'm not quite sure if we're leaning into the Capricorn Aquarius cusp here, specifically with the diet, because normally a Capricorn diet is focused on avoiding meats or animal fats and dairy fats, ostensibly to help keep your arteries clear, because the veins are a Capricorn body area, as well as the bones. They often like to mention to take your minerals and your supplements and vitamins, to say your calcium, I'm assuming. But here that didn't really come up for you, and the diet was more based on, what they say, stable grains and vegetables, a more earthy diet. Surprisingly, when folks are argued to be too grounded, they stay away from the earthy diet. Vice versa. People with their head in the clouds, earthy diet. We got to keep them grounded. They didn't mention much of exercise for you outside of yoga, spiritual, and religious, which lends me to think they want you to get off the ground a little bit. So I don't know. You might have to do a little bit of work on your own to figure out those things if you find yourself in a certain kind of flux in that regard. But hey, it's all here for you. Maybe drill down on it, try it out. I don't know. But that having been said, that's been your health. So let's move on to some advice. All right. Look before you leap. Allow others to express themselves without your reacting prematurely. And be more patient. All right. Try not to demand so much attention. All right. I think we could all learn from that last one, right? Especially this day and age. All right. Your advice, what I have to say here. They said look before you leap, okay? So don't be too impulsive, perhaps, because they said that was kind of an earmark of your particular nature there. At least when it comes to those snap, knee-jerk kind of reactions. Interestingly, I don't think I picked up on that being a primary driver for you, considering as many other things as they mentioned. I don't know. I think they said you were very impulsive and whatnot, but considering the laundry list of everything else, I don't know. But yeah, so I look before you leap. I don't know, maybe it's just because you're too impulsive. So yeah, just consider that. What else do we have here? They wrote, allow others to express themselves before reacting. Again, same kind of dovetails nicely with looking before you leap. And it's just a good practice, all right? Some people, like myself, they'll segue into context-laden stories to provide context before the point they were trying to make, all right? And in fact, they may lose themselves along the way. Happens to me all the time. What was I trying to say? I don't know. Maybe don't tell 3 other stories to provide some kind of setup and context. I think I just did it for you there. So, to that end, be patient, all right? Let your humor shine through in such situations. They also said try not to demand too much attention. And it's funny that they say that because I didn't get the idea that you did. But if you're larger than life, bringing that humor into everything, being dictatorial, even though it doesn't necessarily work out for you, trying to get folks to follow the rules. I don't know. Maybe you're looking for attention somewhere deep down. But also, if you're larger than life, perhaps it's just naturally baked in that you're trying to garner some attention there. But it certainly speaks to minding the ego, all right, and the superficial, fun-loving aspect that was mentioned, if in fact you do. So yeah, just remember, try to grasp of the infinite, I would suppose, but you have to kind of get out of your own way to do that. So that being said, that's been your advice. Let's move on to your meditation. That's right, you get a bit of a meditation. All right. The words I can't are best used sparingly. All right. Yeah, I like this one in general. All right, once more. The words I can't are best used sparingly. All right. I don't know how to affect this one or interpret it for you, but even if I did, I wouldn't let you know because it's your birthday, it's your meditation, and I don't need to throw some spin on it for you because you know what? It wouldn't do you any good to that extent. It would defeat the purpose of a meditation, right? But your meditation in the can, as it were. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror and see where you got the bulk and ostensibly where you're otherwise a little more atrophied. Your strengths and weaknesses. Your strengths, you're expressive, you're resilient, and you're big-hearted. Oh, that's huge. That's huge. I don't think I've seen that one come up in the strengths and weaknesses before. But your weaknesses, oh, let's flip that objective mirror around to the side that blows up your face there. Shows off the things you may be otherwise superficially, insecure about there. They maybe have to use the humor to get yourself over. That's right. I don't know. Try to put the mask on of as much. Your weaknesses. Oh, here we go. You're chaotic. You're unrealistic. And you're upsetting. Interesting. I don't think I picked up on those so much based on the breakdown. But I could see how they could apply. That's right. That having been said, a lot of times the strengths and weaknesses, I'll see them trade back and forth between strength and weakness, just depending upon the day, the individual. So don't take too much stock in it. I also like to argue that sometimes our weaknesses can be used as strengths, just depending upon the situation. So if you want to improve upon those things, hey, for sure, any kind of self-improvement is great. But I would say don't improve upon them too much because they kind of make us who we are, that individualistic kind of thing. That having been said, if you do want to kind of curb back some of your weaknesses, I like to argue your strengths will help you do as much. You're expressive, resilient, big-hearted. Hey, resiliency, hey, I'm going to get after these weaknesses. You're going to follow through on it. And expressive and big-hearted, I don't know, maybe you need a little bit of help from other people to do as much. And if you let them know what's going on and you have a big heart about it, then they're at to help you get through it. I don't know. That's a good argument. I don't know if that's a good argument for as much, but sometimes these are difficult to try and rally it behind and reconcile to this argument. I think the argument still stands, though. But as far as your weaknesses are concerned, is strengths chaotic? Interesting. I don't know if there's a situation where maybe somebody's trying to fight you, maybe. Hey, you got to be a little chaotic there. Get them to maybe back down without having to throw a punch, perhaps. Unrealistic. Well, the example's a little unrealistic, perhaps. But yeah, I could see that being a weakness, unless maybe you're a story writer. Hey, you know what? The unrealistic sells volumes, all right? Upsetting. I don't know. Unless you're trying to upset somebody, that could be seen as a strength. But I don't know. Sometimes I can't really rally behind my argument. But I think it still stands regardless. So in any event, that's been your strengths and your weaknesses. So let's move on to those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, something I like to do is not only see who shares your company, but see what they did to get in the book through the prism of how it might inspire us to figure out our own passions. Assuming that's lacking here, because I often get out in the world and too often I meet folks and ask them what they do, more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. And, I don't think you can blame folks. There's just not usually a lot of time in our day or in our week to carve out time and put into work and effort required to figure those things out. Sometimes we don't even know what we like, let alone what our passions are. But I think it's important that we have a passion, something that we jump out of bed doing backflips in the morning to get after each day, eager to get on with as much, something we find fulfilling. And so if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're chasing after your passions. So maybe we can take some inspiration from the folks who share your company to figure out as much, assuming you haven't got it figured out already. So let's dive in, shall we? We have Federico Fellini, an Italian master film director, famous for La Strada and La Dolce Vita. We also have Nathan Sakaransky, a Russian Jewish physicist and computer expert, also an activist, and it says imprisoned and released to Israel. We also have George Burns, the stage, TV, film comedian. We also have Carol Heiss, Carol Heiss, I'd suppose, five-time world figure skater, champion and also an Olympic gold medalist. We also have Ruth St. Denis, a dancer and a co-founder for the Denishan dance troupe. We also have Abram Hill, an African-American director and playwright. We also have Edwin Buzz Aldrin, a U.S. astronaut for the moon landing, and an autobiography of Return to Earth. You think it saves the second man on the moon instead of just moon landing. David Lynch, the film director of Blue Velvet and the TV director of Twin Peaks. We also have DeForest Kelley, the film and TV actor, and was the doctor on the original Star Trek, the character Bones. We also have John Nabir, U.S. Olympic 4 gold medal winning swimmer. Patricia Neal, film actress, and says tragic life, and it also says had a comeback. We also have Josef Hoffman, a Polish pianist. Yvonne Loriod, a French pianist, and it says a performer and a Messian interpreter. Not quite sure what that is. Moving on, we have, I had to hit the transition there on accident, Susan Rothenberg, a painter. We also have George Stravonopoulos, a Greek fashion designer. Jimmy Cobb, a jazz drummer. Sri Sumangala, 19th century Buddhist priest. We also have Charles Augustus Lindbergh, a Swedish-American legal economist, congressman, writer of banking and currency. We also have Walter Hesselbach, a German banker, business executive, and finally, Ernest Chausson, a French composer. I dare say there were not a lot of names that I recognized today. But that being said, that doesn't mean they didn't provide a certain amount of value here to their particular passion, assuming it was one of their passions. But that being said, I butchered quite a few names there today. It's been a day of disconnects for me if I was born on this birthday. In any event, it's not done in malice. It's just hooked on phonics. Doesn't necessarily work for me all the time when it comes to reading folks' names there. Or the copy in general, right? It would seem. Any event, hey, I know it's a big-ass hard sell to try to take inspiration from other people's accomplishments and ostensible passions, but hey, I think the idea as it still sounds like a bunch of my arguments for the strengths and weaknesses. Maybe me just putting the bug in your ear about as much is going to help you stir up the fires to chase after your own passions. Because if there's anything I can wish you on your birthday, it's that you're getting after it. All right. That having been said, that essentially rounds out your birthday read, except to say, once again, your season is winter, your sign once again is Capricorn of the Capricorn Aquarius Cusp, and your quality and element is Cardinal Earth. Now, what does that mean? Well, that's a different video altogether. I'll leave it at the end there for you if you're interested in diving in further. But this has been January 20th, the day of the Freewheeler from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up your own copy. It'll save you the hassle having to type it in a browser there, and you'll certainly be able to get through it a lot quicker than I could for you, considering there won't be any commentary on my part for you if you've got this at home and diving in. It makes a great coffee table book if you're having folks over for company. You're going to be able to crack the ice open, especially if you don't want to necessarily do all the heavy lifting. Hey, you know what? It's going to get the conversation flowing for better or for worse. That's right. But the book having been related, not altogether all too important in the scheme of things. And what's that? That's right. It's your birthday and me wishing you a happy birthday. That's what's important here. So, hey, once again, happy birthday. And for everyone else who joined us randomly, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourself. Seeing my struggle through the read and the notes and the commentary. Hey, it happens sometimes. We got to go with it. You can't predict if that's going to happen or not. But once again, hey, lest I forget before I take us out here, your daily numbers. All right, get out there and let the universe show you it's with you on your path. All right, see, taste, touch, smell, intuit, a little bit of magic. And like I said, you'll understand why I brought it up for you. Because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, in addition to everything else I already said, it's that you're finding the magic in life. All right, and you're out there having a little bit of fun. So once again, hey, I want to say happy birthday and take care of yourself, all right? Grasp for the infinite if you can. You got a whole laundry list full of great qualities. So, you know what? Endorse them, live after them, and take care of yourself. All right.